So good morning and welcome to the first session of day 4 of the Careers Fair. Just get right into it and I'll pass it over to you guys.
All right. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm logging in from Brisbane, Australia, so it's bright and early for me and my colleague Amanda on the call as well. So I'll start sharing my screen. We have a great presentation, a great agenda for you this morning. We are going to have a few speakers, and also we'll have a few slides to share, but also a nice video to introduce you to our site, New Zealand's aluminium smelter, otherwise known as Enzas. So if you hear acronyms throughout the presentation, don't be surprised and feel free to acknowledge if you haven't got the acronym right. So there's a few people on the call. Personally, I'm Marie Lister. I work in the graduate talent team at Rio Tinto, and I support graduates and summer project students at Enzas. And like I said, I'm based in Brisbane, so 7 a.m. for me today. So the purpose of today's session is to share with you information on our graduate program, on our summer project program. You may not know, but applications are still accepted. I'll be sharing a few links in the chat later on because I'm sharing my screen, so I won't have access to the chat at this time, but my colleagues will be acknowledging your questions as they come in, and feel free to interrupt me as well. So we're still accepting applications. If you click on the link, or if you visit our career site, even though the job ad appears to be based in Australia only, trust me, I'm the person behind the process for our New Zealand applicants, and it is the right place to put in an application. I'll go through that a bit later. So what we have in store for you today is a few different people will be speaking. I'll start with a value share and an overview of Rio Tinto on a global level. And then I'll speak more specifically about our different programs that might be of interest to you. And then we'll hear from a range of guest speakers from our Enzas operations, and you'll learn more about what it is that we do and their career overview as well. And then as part of our team on the call, my colleague Amanda, who will be helping us with questions along the way, and may be answering some of your questions toward the end. So we might keep questions for the end, but again, if any of my colleagues see a question come in that can be addressed right away, we're fine to have more of an interactive session. Aaron, I'm not sure if you're able to remove the sound when someone joins the call. I'm hearing the little bell come in. All right, so we will start here with our values. So we want to start off by pointing out that in all our formal meetings at Rio Tinto, connecting points that we have as a business with colleagues, we always take the opportunity to share learnings or insights related to our value. So as a company, our values are important to us. And as a result, it's important that we take the time to introduce them to you as well. Some of you might have done a bit of research on our website and may already know. So we have the values of care, courage, and curiosity. So with care, we act with care by prioritizing the psychical and emotional safety and well-being of those around us. That summarizes what care is to us. Courage, we act with courage by showing integrity, speaking up when something is not right, and taking decisive action when needed. And finally, curiosity. We act with curiosity by inviting diverse ideas and collaborating to achieve more together than that can be done alone. So these are actually our new values from the last 12 months or so, and ones that are simple, human, and inclusive, and of what's important to us as a business. So how is this relevant to you as a student looking for a summer project role, or looking for a first full-time career? First full-time job to start your career? Well, to know the values of a company is a way for you to identify, is this a place where I see myself working? And do I do I feel those values speak to me? So that might be something for you to think about as you explore your options this week with the virtual sessions or throughout your job search. So I'll start with Rio Tinto, who we are on globally. So as pioneers in mining and metals, we produce materials essential to human progress. So you may wonder, or some people may ask you, why would you be interested in the mining and metals industry? Well, it's essentially producing materials that we use every day, from our phones to our screens to our buildings, to soaps, to a variety of products that we use daily that come from our industry. So it's a very exciting industry to be in, constantly evolving, looking for innovative technology to advance and improve how we produce our materials. So and always doing so by respecting our host countries and communities. So that's who we are globally, and obviously that applies to our facilities in New Zealand as well. And so what it is that we do, well, we manage a portfolio of world-class assets in 35 countries. I'll show you the world map in a moment. But essentially those products there is what our portfolio consists of. So Aaron, I can still hear the bell with people arriving. I don't know if it's possible to mute that. So all right, so yeah, so across the world we produce essentially, we have the full value chain. So we have mines. I might go to this slide. So that shows well where we operate on a world scale. Lots of dots in the APAC region. And as you can see with the different colors, in our region, really it's the aluminium product group that prevails, also in other parts of the world. But what I wanted to highlight here is like the round dots are actually mines, and then the squares are smelters, refineries. So and then we also have offices and shipping facilities. So, and then we end up having the sale to our customers. So we have the complete value chain, which again makes it a very exciting industry to be in. We look for individuals from quite a range of disciplines and interests, because we need people in sales and marketing, like we do need mining engineers, and we need process engineers in our smelters, along with automation, mechatronics, that type of engineering discipline, but not only engineers. So again, this is on a global scale. And then now I want to take a couple of minutes to, maybe I'll stop if any of my colleagues want to interrupt me and say, are there any questions that could be addressed at this stage, or can someone just unmute and say, no, continue, or let's hold?
Unless any of the students have any questions, I think we can continue on, Marie. I think that's a really great overview of Rio Tinto and what's shaping our future in terms of being pioneers of progress. So yeah, if we could continue on, that'd be awesome.
Thanks, Amanda. Thank you. So the next few slides is about telling you more about our summer project and our graduate program. So from a global perspective, we have 313 actually graduates globally. So across all those continents that you saw on the earlier slide, and about half of those graduates are female, so 56%. And really our aim is about giving our graduates the resources, the technology, the support that they need to create a better tomorrow. So that's what this is about. And on this slide here, I want to highlight, so some of you on the call might be in your first, second, third year of your bachelor degree. We also take on master's students, but essentially the summer project program, or otherwise known as vacation program, you may hear both being said. Essentially, it's about giving you the opportunity to get your hands dirty, really gain practical work experience and get to know us. So when I said at the start, values, when you research which company is right for you, to do a 12-week summer program is an amazing way to assess from your perspective as an individual, is this a company I see myself grow with? And for us as a company, it's a great way for us to get to know you and to really give you the opportunity to apply your learnings in a practical way. So for this coming summer, these are the dates. So from end of November to mid-February, they're typically the dates of our summer project programs. And essentially, we look to our summer project programs first before we hire externally when full-time permanent positions or graduate positions come up. So always good to keep in mind and to get in early. And like I said, we are still accepting applications. So I'll talk about that at the end. So here I just want to highlight a few of the ways that we support our summer project program. So there's obviously a lot of support day to day with the leader, with the team you'll be paired with for the summer period, but also on a more global perspective, like including students from maybe Australia, Singapore, who might be at the same time conducting or being part of the business over the summer, that we have virtual sessions that help students get to know us, be engaged with other interns or VAC students in other parts of our business. And the leader project is really about what you do with your immediate team. So we are encouraging our leaders who take on students to give them a meaningful project that they get to present at the end of summer. So again, it's all about as much tangible experience that you can get throughout your summer and to put to practice what you've learned in school. So it's no longer just a blurry theory, but it's really practical. Collaborative networks, digital learning, LinkedIn Learning and other learning platforms that we have for Rio Tinto employees. Our summer project students have access to this. So essentially the point of this introduction here is to let you know that our summer project or vacation program are very, very hands-on, and it's an exciting time, and we hire a few students, so it's a great way for you to get to know others from maybe different parts of New Zealand and to create your network, because as you might already know from your career centre, developing your network as part of your studies is a great way to think about what's going to come next once you graduate. And then just a couple more minutes before I hand over to Andrew about our graduate development program. It is a global program. Like I said, on all the continents, I could show you on the world map where we have a presence as a company, and across all different disciplines, we hire every year a key select number of graduates who we see as our future leaders. So when we identify the right person for the graduate program, we think of motivated, curious, remember the values, so individuals that are going to dare to want to make a difference and want to come with us on the journey to become a better company, always looking to innovate and be better. And so that's what the graduate development program is also about. So it's a 2-year program, but it's a full-time permanent position that we offer our graduates, where the first 2 years consist of development and extensive resources and opportunity. So briefly, so year 1 of our graduate program, obviously a global onboarding, so opportunities to start your network with students or graduates from all over the world. Coaching, so one-on-one coaching, that's for you to assess with your coach. There's virtual sessions, or there are virtual sessions with a coach, but to address goals, personal, professional goals that you may want to work on outside your day-to-day work, maybe develop soft skills. Maybe you also want to look at improving your understanding of our business on a global level, like learn about geology or geotechnical engineering that you wouldn't get at a smelter, but you might want to learn about other parts of our supply chain. That's what the first year is about. So the coaching, the leadership simulation, that's a really fun game that our grads get to work on together, again, to learn more about leadership, and you can apply your learnings pretty much on a day-to-day basis. So graduate talks, again, about exposure to our business, and the Mind to Market showcase. This is like a big event which has been held virtually, obviously, for the last few years, where you get to learn about our full supply chain. And then year 2 is about building on those initial skills and look at the future. And so masterclass series on a variety of topics, an innovation project, which is really exciting. This is a project you get to work on with grads who are not necessarily based, or are typically not based where you are. So that's across geographies and across different disciplines. So you learn from others and you get to pitch your project. And actually now the winning team globally gets to go to London, UK for a One World, so at an international event that is like the prize for the top team. But the top teams also get to present to our executive committee. So this visibility that we offer our graduates is something that other employees in the company don't get to do. And it's really exciting, and it's a way for us to say, this is what we think you're in for us. You know, you're our future leaders. We want to give you all the tools and the opportunities. And it ends with the festival, which is essentially like a graduation of your graduate program, to say, okay, you've got all the tools. Now, what's next? So that's how we end the program. And quickly on the recruitment process, but I want to hand over to Andrew quicker than anything. Like I said, I will put the link in the chat a little bit later, but we have a little bit of a process for our recruitment. But moving forward, I'll be your contact. Happy to share my contact information. If you have any queries, you can come directly to me, but through our application process, there's pre-screening questions. Again, don't be too discouraged if any of those questions appear to be Australia specific. Don't worry, it's the right process. I'm the one who will be reviewing, and again, you'll be able to contact me directly if needed to share your CV and your interest. But we have some assessments, and then we do virtual interviews at this stage, and then move forward with the process. And we intend on finalizing our graduate and summer project recruitment in the next few weeks. So don't delay to submit your interest. And so now I will hand over to Andrew. I will just stop sharing my screen for a moment and put on a video.
Yeah, excellent. Hey guys, so my name's Andrew Mullins. I'll give you a little bit more of an overview about who I am and what I do shortly. Thanks very much, Marie. That was a really great overview of Rio Tinto. So you'll also hear shortly from myself and a couple of other graduates a little bit about our pathway through that graduate program that Marie was just talking about anyway. So we're going to play a little video, show you a little bit about our operations, our process, and what we do. So you may be aware, down in Invercargill on the southernmost point of New Zealand, TY Point. You may hear us referring to ourselves as TY or Enzas. I guess it's kind of a bit of a culture that we've grown into is the way we refer to ourselves. So it's a reasonably complicated process down here, but we make some of the most high purity aluminium in the world. And it all starts with these great big carbon blocks that you're looking at right here. So these carbon blocks are anodes. If anyone's familiar with electrolysis or electrochemical reactions, great. If not, just watch the video and have a bit of a look through anyway and see what we do. So these anodes here, they're about 1,200 kgs each, and they get consumed over a 26-day life. And we use these to pass electricity through and facilitate the reaction where we're actually producing aluminium. So this is really the building block or the starting point for this. Now, these anodes are developed, although they look quite agriculture and just big bulky, to quite a high spec. So between the raw materials, the dimensions, and the way they're formed actually. So we mix together a whole lot of petroleum, cokes and pitch together, bake it for around 2 weeks and compress it into these big blocks. And that starts forming how we actually start this reaction. You can see a stack of them sitting here. So we pass 220,000 amps of current through these blocks. They act as an electrical conductor for us. So we need to have some sort of pathway for that current to flow. So what you're seeing here now, we attach a rod. It's a steel yoke with an aluminium rod, and we use that to pass that current through. So it's a ridiculous amount of electricity that we actually use. I'll talk more when we get to the reduction process. So as I was saying, we consume them over this 26-day life. Each of these things that you're looking at here is a cell or a pot, what we call them. We have 3 pot lines, 624 cells. Each of these cells here has 18 anodes. So remember these 1,200 kg anodes, it ends up producing a significant amount of metal. So 335,000 tons in the vicinity of, that's how much aluminium we produce on a yearly basis. Now you can see a bit of cover material going on there. Essentially how we're producing that, we take a raw feedstock. It comes from a natural ore from over in Australia, bauxite. That then goes to a refinery and it's converted into a material we call alumina or aluminium oxide. And it's essentially a white powder and that's what we're converting into aluminium. Now, the process we're seeing here is once the aluminium is produced, we produce around 1.5 tons each day in each of these cells. It's siphoned out into these big crucibles, which are then transported down to our casting facility. Right, so we've gone through quite a series of raw processes of taking these raw materials and converting them into a nice shiny molten liquid. And now we need to turn them into a final form for our customer. So over in the cast house, we alloy these depending on how the customer, with the customer requirements. So we put different alloys to make a different product. And we cast them into 3 main products. What we're looking at there is an ingot. So ingots are essentially just small wee blocks. Most of them are high purity aluminium, which are used for a variety of different uses. So can be used in household electronic devices, memory cards, supercapacitors. There's quite a varied number of uses for these. We also have another couple of main products that we cast our aluminium into. So billet, you'll see these shortly. They're essentially just large logs that go through extrusion machines. So certain customers have different requirements for the products they produce. And then the other main product that we use is a rolling block, essentially just a large slab of aluminium. And that gets rolled out into really thin sheets for car bodies, for train skins. So there's a huge number of uses for the aluminium that we produce. So the other neat thing about it, I said we pass 220,000 amps of current through these blocks to produce the aluminium, but we consume a huge amount of electricity, so 572 megawatts on a 24/7 basis. Now, the power that we use is generated from the Manapori hydro station, so it's all natural energy in a sense. It's all hydro-powered energy. But the what is he saying? 664,000 household equivalents is what we use in electricity. So it's a significant amount when you start looking into it. And the other thing I guess is quite neat about the product we produce, aluminium is infinitely recyclable. And it's got some really, really amazing properties from conductivity, structural strength. It's used in electric cars as well. So a huge, huge range of uses that we actually use it for. It's a pretty unique selling point for our little old Southland. And it's a really, really cool operation to be part of. So as Marie was saying, obviously, there are smelters that are overseas as well. Enzas is our only Rio Tinto operation in New Zealand. But that's not to say we have a huge network across the rest of the world as well with the rest of Rio Tinto. So yeah, that's a little bit, I guess, about what we do. A few more technical details and definitely have to ask some more questions if you are interested. But that is the crux of what happens down at Enzas anyway.
Thanks, Andrew. I'll let you continue.
Right. So if you're not sick of me talking yet, I'll tell you a little bit more about it myself now. So I started off as a graduate, I guess not too unlike most of you on the call probably at the moment, back in, well, I studied at Massey University from 2015 to 2018. And when I finished studying, I was looking around for an opportunity to go into a reasonably large workforce, something with some complex operations that's going to challenge me, but most importantly, something with the potential for me to grow and develop myself as a professional engineer. So I started off as a cohort of 3 graduates, you can see on the left side of the screen there, and we all went into very different areas of the plant. So I initially started in the ultra high purity team. Now, as I mentioned before, we produce some of the highest purity aluminium in the world. So I was actually lucky enough to work across most of the plant from all the 3 different areas that we just looked at in that video, and looking at the opportunities of how we could actually produce it better. So from the raw materials or the parameters that we're changing in the plant. So it was a really unique opportunity for me. Opportunity is a word I'm probably going to come back to quite a bit through this talk actually. So within actually 6 months of being in the graduate role, an opportunity came up for me to go into a process control engineer role. So moving away from this project work I was doing to actually monitoring the day-to-day production of those anodes, those big carbon blocks that we saw. So monitoring the raw materials that are going in and each of the technical parameters around them. So the mixing times, the temperatures. It's really, really interesting to actually be able to take a part of the process yourself and start sort of developing that and making it into your own. So after the first year, I continued on and started realizing how much I enjoyed data. So everything that we do on a daily basis has an overwhelming amount of data behind it, but we have to work out, I guess, good ways to use that data. So I started working closely alongside the business improvement team, both carrying out some small scale projects with UHP, the ultra high purity aluminium, but also developing and I guess adapting our site's reporting system. So we've got a suite of some really cool software on site, and started playing around and sort of getting into that space of business improvement, data science, data analytics, and got a real passion for that. Now, coming into my third year, so I've moved off the graduate program there by this point. So it's really neat, the whole graduate program, and there's a lot of really cool opportunities in there. But there's also just as many opportunities to move into a more permanent role that is more suited to the individual as well. And that's a really cool thing, is the pathways that you can have through Rio Tinto. So a process specialist role came up in the reduction department where we're producing the aluminium. And I then spent the next year looking at forecasting, strategic planning, and again, some more business improvement projects, but around a completely different part of the process. So I've had now 3 different roles across my 3 years on the site so far, where I'm doing something completely different and challenging myself every day, which is a really cool thing. So again, coming back to that opportunity, that there is a really large thing from what I've seen. It's a really neat workplace to work for. You've got a huge wealth of knowledge across the rest of the people. So on our site alone, we've got operators that have been working there for over 40 years. They've seen the way the process has changed on a day-to-day basis to the point where it is now. So there's a huge wealth of knowledge and a lot of people that you can actually communicate with across the business, which is a really, really cool thing for us. So I guess fast forward through to today. If I look back previously, I was a nervous graduate coming into a huge, big operating environment, which I had no clue what I was doing. And now I've actually been landed into a superintendent role. So a nervous graduate that is looking after a team of around 60 people across 4 different crews. So it's a really cool opportunity. People is a very different, I guess, skill set to try and learn. So I'm definitely trying to take on the opportunity as much as I can. But now moving away from a technical pathway to more of a sort of operational leadership pathway. So again, it just shows some of those opportunities that do exist. So over my 4 years, a huge, vast range of jobs that I've actually had the opportunity to work alongside. So, and I guess Taylor and Vivis will now sort of have a bit of a chat about their pathway so far and the opportunities that they're getting to. So that's a little bit about me anyway.
Excellent. Thank you. Can you hear me? Oh, I think I was muted. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry, I can't see if you're acknowledging. So thank you so much, Andrew. That was great. So if you have any questions for Andrew, please, you can type them in, but we'll get to questions shortly. But now we'll hear from Taylor and Vibha. So Taylor, over to you.
Thanks, Marie. I am one of the new graduates from this year, so I've been on site for about 3 months now, but my relationship with Rio Tinto started in around 2017 when I was still at high school. They do a partnership with South and Girls High School, so they take 4 of us students on site and we come in and we do a week's work on a project. So that was the first time I came on site and I was blown away just by how massive it was. But that was a really cool thing. At the end of that year, I ended up applying for a scholarship before I headed up to UC, where I studied chemical and process engineering. To complete my hours for practical and professional hours, I came back to TY as part of the scholarship. So my first summer doing my practical hours, I was working in the shipping department. So that was 4 days on, 4 days off, which it was a really, really cool department. So we deal with everything from the raw materials coming in to the product going out. And the middle photos is the loader at the top. I got to drive that to put coke into a conveyor belt, which was then sent through to green carbon to make the anodes, which was a really cool thing to learn how to drive. I'd never driven anything like it. I was also driving forklifts and things like that. So the second photo in the middle is tapped bath. So the cryolite, if you know about electrolysis, the excess we take out and we bag it and we sell it as a product. So I was moving that as it filled up in bags and things like that. And the bottom picture is the straddle carrier. So that's what, if you saw it in the video that Andrew showed, the ingots get all stacked up. So they use this massive machine. It runs over the ingots, lifts it up, and then it can move it and put it onto trucks so that it can be transported. So that was a really cool experience. I was introduced to a lot of really big things that I'd never experienced in my life, especially with the raw materials coming in, the massive ships that bring it from all over the country, all over the world, sorry. So one of the things, we have this massive ship unloader, which is a huge vacuum, and it goes into the ship's hold and it sucks up all the alumina or the coke that's getting brought in. And then what they do for the remainder that the ship unloader can't get is they lower with a crane one of those massive loaders into the ship, and it scoops it up, and then finally we climb down into the ship and sweep it into little piles to get all the material that we can get. So that was a real highlight, just seeing that side of the operation, just the raw materials coming in. And yeah, so then after that I went back to uni and I came back and I did my professional hours back at TY. So I was actually under Andrew, he was my leader for that project, and I was working on the chemistry control on line 3. So that was dealing with the control system and changing parameters. So I got to look into Minitab. I used a design of experiment software system where I chose 3 different factors, and then across one of the whole pot lines I implemented a trial for, I think it was about 60 days, and then compared the results. So the graph at the top shows the standardized effects. So anything past the red line had a significant effect. So then I used those results and I implemented that trial, implemented the changes across the entire line before I left. And then for my final year of uni, I signed a contract quite early on in the year with Enzas. So then I came back in March at the start of this year. So I've been here for about 3 months now. It's been really cool to see that the project from my student time is still actually being used today. So those parameter changes are still in effect, which is really cool to see. And I started actually pretty much straight away. I've been put onto one of the lines. I'm currently doing the day-to-day running of line 1, so I'm looking after 208 pot lines and working alongside 16 process controllers and 4 crew leaders. So this has been a really big learning curve for me. I guess I'm learning technical things and I'm also learning communication and management things at the same time. So that's been really cool, and it's great to actually be in an environment where I'm being challenged and not just sitting around, which some of the students that I went to uni with, I guess you call them peers, are sort of just doing that reading and not doing too much practical hands-on things yet. So it's really cool that I've been given that opportunity so early on in my career. In addition to that, I'm also doing all the graduate program things. So we've had our onboarding sessions, which has been really cool to learn about all the processes overseas. So particularly we focus on the Pacific aluminium. So we look into what's going on in Australia. So it's cool to see from the mines to the refineries to Enzas that we do within my career, essentially. So it's really nice to actually be given the opportunity to work with someone outside of Rio Tinto and I guess discuss things. They have such a different perspective because they're in a different industry. The coaches are talking to people from a number of industries, so it's all important and relevant, but it's a lot less specific to the industry and more soft and hard skills based. So yeah, that's been really cool. And I think the other thing I've been working on is the gamified leadership simulation game. So this is a really cool game that we've been we've given the opportunity to play. So we are essentially managing a team of 4 people on an island after a plane crash. So it's just a really simulated leadership experience, and I found that a really interesting way to sort of develop the soft skills again. So yeah, I think that's about my career now. I've only been here 3 months, but I'm loving it and looking forward to where I go from here.
Thanks, Taylor. That was great. Great story. So last but not least, Vibhas, we'd love to hear from you. And after Vibhas' presentation, I'll stop sharing screen and we'll take questions and have a more interactive session. Over to you, Vibhas.
Thanks, Marie, and thanks, Taylor, for that wonderful presentation. Hi, everyone. So my name's Vibhas. It's a pleasure to talk to you all today. So my career journey so far has been pretty short, I guess. I did an internship in Australia for a different company over the summer of 2019 and 2020. I then finished uni, graduated, and I joined TY about 6 months ago in November of 2021. And I've had the opportunity to work in the business improvement team that Andrew talked about as a data scientist. So as you guys have seen, the aluminium smelter, like Recruitment Road, it's a big place, especially in the context of New Zealand employers. Between employees and contractors, there are about 1,000 people working here permanently. And as you saw earlier in Andrew's video, there's a lot of buildings with so many processes going on in each building. This does mean there's a lot of breadth in terms of opportunities available, granting the freedom to move around and really find your niche. However, the size of the smelter does come with challenges. There is a lot to learn, but you should understand you are being well supported and no one is expecting you to know everything. The main expectations are to turn up on time, so that alarm clock is how my morning looks, a couple of alarms there. Be attentive, ask as many questions as you can, and document and organize your notes. I promise you they will make more sense over time. One of the challenges working here, and it's certainly not unique to my role, is that it's not enough to know what's physically happening on the floor. You also need to understand what's going on in terms of the computer view. So you end up looking maybe at the same thing, but through 2 different lenses. That does multiply the complexity a bit, but it also magnifies how rewarding the work feels. So no matter your area of expertise, you are going to find various challenges, and even just the basics for everyone, building your profile, constructing emails, and just finding out who does what. They do get easier, they do get quicker as you get more experienced. Thankfully, my boss and team have been incredibly supportive and nurturing from the word go, and the vast majority of people here would be able to offer a graduate with great mentorship and leadership. And it's really important because working for a good boss and a good team does make a world of difference, especially as you're so new in your career. There are also other graduates to share your successes and challenges with. So there'll be graduates that are a couple of years older, such as myself, or a bit more experienced. There's 8 sessions of coaching with an external career psychologist, which, just discussing with the other grads, that does seem like one of the most valuable and important parts of the grad program, because it does really help your personal and professional development, and it helps smoothens your transition into the company. It also does bring out the great value you can add to the company, so it's a win-win-win basically. So yeah, that's basically my presentation. So I believe we're going into a Q&A next. Thanks for listening to me, everyone, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Vibhas. That was great. So I think we've reached a time where it's really opening the floor for questions. Thank you to Andrew, Taylor, and Vibhas for your introductions and your stories, and obviously Andrew, the great explanation of the process. I find it, not being an engineer myself, very fascinating of the what happens at the smelter. So please don't be shy. You can type in your question. You can unmute yourself. You can put your video on. We're very happy to pick that. Jacob, did you have a question, or anyone else?
Hey, I've got a question.
Yes.
Do you guys generally look for a certain GPA when you're doing applications, or?
That's a good question, Max. So we don't typically look at GPA. Actually, providing your transcript is not a requirement of our application process. That being said, sometimes if there's great candidates and we have, you know, a choice to make. We may look at how well you did in your classes, but we're really looking more for the right attitude, the motivation, the willingness to want to listen and take feedback and learn. But obviously, you still need to have the right theory behind you. But short answer is GPA is not the primary focus of our recruitment process. Thanks for your question, Nancy. So Jacob, your question about the type of engineering interns we're looking for. We're looking for automation interns, so mechatronics type background. We're looking for process engineers, and we also have roles in reliability, so typically mechanical or maybe electrical engineering would be. You don't have to intern with Rio Tinto to be considered for a grad role, though we do look to our interns first, but it's not a compulsory requirement to have done an internship. So if you're interested, at the moment, we are looking for a graduate in automation, and we didn't have a recent intern for that role. So that's open to all of you on the call to put in an application for that. If anyone else in my colleagues who want to add to my answers, please do. I'm just going to put some links in the chat that I had mentioned earlier.
Ryan, I might just elaborate on your question. We really love the opportunity for students to join us for the vacation program. Obviously, to Marie's point, it's not a requirement, but it's really the opportunity for not only us to see how you demonstrate you know, being able to align to our values, care, courage, and curiosity, but it's also like a two-way street, right? So it's an opportunity for you to come into Rio Tinto over the 12 weeks and see if you actually like it and enjoy it. So really encourage, if you're curious, not only to submit an application for the graduate program, but come and join us for the 12 weeks and see what it's all about. And Vibus and Taylor and even Andrew and his acting superintendent role have shared their journeys. So, and they've all been part of the summer program. So yeah, please come and join us if you're interested.
Don't be shy to unmute yourself if you want to ask another question.
Yeah, by all means, come and have a discussion.
Hey, Andrew, with you saying how you moved out of the grad program, is that possible or like quite common to do early and to move out of the program, or to potentially not go into the program at all and just go straight into a general role?
Yeah, for sure. And I don't want to say this to try and get people off the graduate program, because it's an amazing pathway and you get to meet some amazing people through it. But definitely, if opportunities come up and you're putting yourself out there, then there's 100% opportunities throughout the company to sort of move into permanent roles in other areas of the business as well. But I will say there is a huge value in staying with the graduate program for at least a period of time anyway. Even the likes of the network of graduates. So like Taylor was saying, with the gamified simulation she's doing, she'll be interacting with graduates from across the rest of Australia, across the rest of Rio Tinto's operations, and building those networks is a pretty cool thing to do. But yeah, 100%, there's definitely opportunities for those that are willing to sort of make the effort and put themselves out there. So
yeah, no, that sounds cool.
There's a question about, thanks Ryan, there's a question about, is there a benefit to be from Southland to land a role? And if so, do you guys find it difficult to attract students from Southland to join, or not from Southland to join? So I don't know if, yeah, please
jump onto that, and then Taylor
yes.
or Beavis can also jump on as well if they want. So I'm not from Southland myself, so I'm actually from up around the Palmerston North area. And I had no concerns. I mean, obviously a couple of thoughts about, you know, moving down to Invercargill, but I have absolutely no regrets whatsoever. So it's definitely not a be all and end all that you have to be in Southland to be applying for the role. You can definitely move from other parts of the country and come down to Southland, and I would highly encourage it. It's a pretty incredible part of the country, especially if you like to get outdoors, fishing, hiking, tramping. Yeah, there's some pretty cool places to explore down in Southland.
Thanks,
yeah,
Andrew.
I'm from Auckland, so no, the company is very helpful with helping you move down as well. So there's no requirement to be from Southland.
So there was also a question on, do you usually take second year students for the summer program? Look, we're open to taking students at various stages of their degree. But I don't know, Andrew, if you wanted to, or Taylor, I guess Taylor had a good example. She was throughout, but
almost finished, well, including 2 finished, we have 9 that are like.
So Aaron, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry, didn't know I was unmuted.
Okay. Thank you. So Andrew, Taylor, did you want to speak to students from second year and on for a summer program?
I know that, well, I came and I did my professional work in my 3rd year, but one of the other graduates at the moment who started here this year as well, she came and she did her professional hours for 2 years. So she came in the 2nd year and the 3rd year of uni. So there's definitely opportunities there, because obviously she did great work, so they wanted her back. So there is opportunities there. I don't know about the entire application process. Andrew, you might know more about that.
Yeah, no, I probably don't know too much about the application process and everything else, but I would say definitely not limited to any particular year. Like at the end of the day, it's all experience. You'll still be carrying out projects and learning skills. And the most important part, I guess, is being part of the industry and just seeing what we do and developing those skills as you're becoming sort of a more professional throughout your career too. So I would say, from my understanding, I don't think it's any limitation of coming in and trying as a 2nd year, but yeah, that's probably my only take on it anyway.
Thanks to you both. If I can just add, from the application perspective, don't be shy to apply. Essentially, we look for, over and beyond having all the technical skills or having done all the required classes, we look for, remember again, the values. It's about curious individuals who will have the courage to speak up and listen and want to learn and be open to learning throughout their summer. So by all means, from 2nd year on, feel free to submit an application. So I know we're running to the end of our presentation now, so I just want to make sure you've taken notes of the links in the chat. So please save them in your bookmarks. I've put in links for the expression of interest, which is the application link to our job site. I've put links to our grad program overview online, as well as specifically on our Enzas TY operation. So please visit our website. And last but not least, I'm going to put my email here. You can contact me directly. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I don't know if some of you already have an active LinkedIn profile, but that's certainly a great advice for me to you, is make sure you update your LinkedIn with recent experiences, even if you're at the very start of your degree, to start building a professional profile online is a good advice. And connect with me. You'll get to see what, things that I may post that are of interest to you. And again, I'll be your contact for next steps. And we'd love to have you contact me for opportunities for this summer or for a graduate role starting in 2023. Are there any last questions?
Yes, I got one.
Yes.
With the role obviously being at the TY smelter, is there opportunities to get into Australian internships or grad roles quite easily?
It's a good question, Ryan. So typically for internships or summer programs, we'll look locally. So locally as in within New Zealand and within Australia typically, but with the work rights interchangeable, that, it's not a closed door, but I would say more likely than not, we'll look at our applications within the country where the role is based. But in the medium to long term, we are a global company. So I've recently relocated from Canada. So I'm a good example of someone who's moved from a different part of the world to Rio Tinto, Australia. So all this to say, to be part of a global company, there's definitely opportunities, but it may be more likely that for your first role as a summer student or for a grad, that you'd be starting within the country where you currently are. So, but definitely for the future, there could be opportunities.
Yeah, and something else as well, is the length of the summer program flexible? It's just that I'm looking at going on exchange over early next year, so I wouldn't be available for the full 12 weeks. Is that something you'd look at, or is that a bit much to ask?
Probably not, but send me a direct email. Tell me a bit more about your availabilities. We can look at that. I would say probably we'd prefer to take someone on who can do the full 3 months, but look, we're not close to any situation for the right people. We can sometimes, accommodate. So just contact me directly, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you.
Any
for Vipas?
Yes, go ahead. Frank.
I was wondering if you could walk me through your kind of like day-to-day operations as a data scientist at Rio Tinto.
Sure. So actually, that's been something that's changed recently. So I'm the only data scientist on site right now. So just last week, we kind of started to redefine my role in a way, because currently my work has been attending to projects that might be linked to data scientists in a certain way, or just making Power BI reports. Going forward in the future, we're going to be looking at perhaps finding specific data science only opportunities for me and projects, so that I'm able to basically work in my niche a lot more than I am right now. But currently just working on projects that have links to data science, they have data, they have opportunities here and there. So that way I'm able to see a bit more of the company, because you need to understand the databases, the data structures, the people involved in them. And then over time, you can start producing really good, high quality work.
Thank you.
Aaron, I'm conscious of time. Do we still have time for maybe one more question? I know some might have another session to attend in a few minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. The next session, you can get one more in.
Okay, sure. Anyone else? Thanks. So we've had really great questions. So anyone else want to ask?
Cool. So if there's no more, we'll finish it up there. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thanks again to all the students as well for being interactive, having all these questions. It's good to see people are getting amongst and obviously taking full advantage of these opportunities. Stop.